Hi. Think about the last time that you had a really great conversation. That conversation probably there was no interrupting. Lots of questions were probably being asked, and somebody was really listening to you without distractions. A lot of us have never really been taught to listen. We were taught by our parents to maybe listen to our parents and other authority figures that maybe at school, but we were never really taught to listen, to really hear what the person says and make that person feel special. That not only do they feel special, but that they feel heard. 10 years ago, I attended a coach school with the Direct Selling World Alliance for business coaching. I was introduced to this concept for the first time, and in the Direct Selling World Alliance curriculum, they called this heart-centered listening, really listening intently with 100% of yourself with no distractions. You know, we all have conversations every day and can benefit from being good listeners. But today I'm going to explain to you why it's important to be a good listener, how to apply those listening skills, and how to be a good active listener, and what the benefits are when you do apply those skills. So let's go ahead and start with why it is important. Think about the last time you had a conversation with somebody that was really not paying attention. This recently happened to me with a good friend. We were having a conversation, and the entire time we were having that conversation, she was on her phone, very, very distracted. I don't know if she was answering emails, text messages. I'm not sure what she was doing, but it just really rubbed me the wrong way. And I realized that it was because I felt like what I had to say was not important. She really didn't care what I had to say because she really wasn't listening to what I had to say. So the way we listen will make somebody feel important or not important. Author Blake Bose talked about the importance of being attentive. He talked about the importance of putting our phones down. Don't letting things distract you. Look at the person that's talking, not off something else going on. You know, letting them know that they have 100% of your attention. That's how they're going to know you care about what to say. The Harvard Business Review posted an article called "Are You Really Listening?" The author of this article talked about how when he went out into the sales force, he began to be a manager, and he wanted to go in with such power and a gust that he just wanted to rule over everybody. But he soon learned that this wasn't a good way to have relationships with his employees. He soon realized that they found that he was arrogant and they didn't like him. And this was really causing their performance levels to lower because there wasn't the good camaraderie at work that should have been. And they really didn't feel like they wanted to work well with him. He realized that if he could stop and listen before responding back to them when they had conversation, he could slowly gain their trust back. When we don't listen intently, we make others feel that they are less important. How do others perceive us is how they see us listening to them. So what are some of the consequences of that manager going in and showing that he didn't want to listen to him? He cut them off all the time. You know, it had that contention. They had absolutely no respect for them, and their level of their work performance definitely suffered. Now that we know how to be an active listener, or that why we should be an active listener, let's talk about how to apply these skills. First off, a lot of it is your body language, your tone, and how do you respond. An article published in the International Journal of Listening titled "Active Listening, Is It the Forgotten Dimension in Managerial Communication?" talks about how listening is a two-sided phenomenon. First, it's what the attitude is of the listener. What are they portraying? Are they looking off? Are they not focusing? Are they working? Are they distracted? And secondly, it's the technical skills, the body language, the voice inflection. Are you having eye contact? It's the overall impression that you give somebody. That body language shows a lot. If you are showing that you're agitated and uninterested, even if you are listening to them 100%, it's going to come across that you're not listening. So that body language is very, very important. I think the biggest thing that we can do to overcome not being a very good listener is to be aware of the fact that maybe we're not a good listener. That's what I first learned 10 years ago when I was in that coach school, when I learned about listening. According to Lois Zachary and Lori Fisher in Student Affairs Today, they talk about how there are 4 basic elements of active listening. First, it's setting the stage, going back, getting rid of all those distractions like we talked about before. Pay attention to them 100%. Make eye contact with them. Let them know that you are listening to them and there are no distractions. Clarify what they're saying and acknowledge their feelings. So setting yourself up for success will happen when you follow those 4 elements. So when you're setting up and setting the stage for that active listener, if you get distracted by things on your computer, shut your computer monitor off if you're in an office or by a computer. Your phone, we are all distracted by our phones. If your phone is out, somebody, and it dings or whatever, and you look at it, you're showing that person that they're less important than whatever it is on your phone. One of the things that I like to do to kind of help me remember to listen and not be distracted is I'd either put my hand on my heart. If I'm holding a necklace, I would hold my necklace. Not only did it help me to remember to listen to them intently, but also to keep my mouth closed because I'd want to interject myself in their conversation, and that's not what we want to do. So clarify what they're saying. You can do this by saying, what I hear you saying is, or is this what you meant when you said this? Also acknowledge them back by the words that they're using. If they say, I am very frustrated, use that same word. Don't come back and say, I hear that you're very irritated with this situation. Because in their mind, they're thinking, she's not listening to me. Because I said I was frustrated. I'm not irritated, I'm frustrated. So it's important to use that same language back. I think it's important that we just must want to change. If we don't acknowledge that we need to change and we don't have that desire to change, then we won't change. Focus on one thing at a time. This is something that has come to me, this skill, over a long period of time, not just happening, I'm going to make this decision and do it. It's focusing on it, and every time I have a conversation, just trying to be better at one of those things. Remember those 4 steps for meaningful conversation, setting that stage for active listening, making sure that you're paying attention, and then that you clarify things that are said and you acknowledge them for their feelings of what they said. So we're now aware of listening without distractions and being conscious of our body language and the tone and words that we use. And so let's talk about what are the benefits of active listening. Brian Hunt said in an article, active listening is the key to teens. He talked about how he worked with troubled teens, and he found that if he could set distractions aside and listen to these teens give them 100% of his attention, it really made a difference, and he could see the change that it made in those teens. Most people may not have anyone that has ever listened to them, and that may have been the case with these teens. But when we can be that example and be that person that listens to others, we can be that manager that others look up to. We can build strong relationships. So much more can be said about this. Then this is just the beginning. We've talked about this. It's just the iceberg of how to be a good listener. So we've seen why we should be an active listener. We've talked about how we can apply to be an active listener. And we talked about the benefits of being an active listener. So start slow, focus on those 4 elements and of setting the stage, paying attention, clarifying, and also acknowledging people for what they say. I want to end with this quote by Annis Nin. We see the world not as it is, but as we are. Let's create a world where we all are good listeners. Be that person that everyone wants to talk to not because of what you say, but because of how they feel when you leave the conversation.